And as mentioned earlier on, we will be talking about solar adoption or solar energy adoption in the country. And starting October the 8th, that is tomorrow, right here in Nairobi, the Global Off-Grid Solar Forum and Expo 2024. For the next 3 days, we'll be having about 1,500 exhibitors and top-tier delegates who will converge here for a 3-day workshop on the future of energy access and more specific solar energy. A report of 2024 shows that by solar market trends reveal that off-grid solar could power 41% of 685 million people without power. Imagine by the year 2030. We're talking about in the next 6 years, 685 million. Is this workable? But to help me drive that conversation, I'm joined by the Executive Director of GOGLA, or GOGLA, who is Sarah Malm. Hope I've got that right.
You've got it right.
Yeah. Now, first things first, we're talking about the next 6 years and the 685 million people without power. Is it workable?
So we're off track on energy access, and I think the most important statistic is now that population growth is really outstripping our progress on energy access. Mm-hmm. So 685 million people still lack access to reliable, affordable, clean energy. Mm-hmm. And in order to get on track, there's a number of things that have to fall in place. And that includes governments working together with the private sector, mm-hmm. and also attracting investment into the off-grid sector and the renewable energy space more broadly.
And before we look at the summit, which I'm quite sure will delve in a lot, will bring about a lot of changes in how we view solar energy. I'm looking at Kenya and let's say East and Central Africa. We are in the sub-Saharan. Actually, we are called the sub-Saharan African countries. And we have solar energy almost throughout the year. Why haven't the countries, including Kenya, although we have made some baby steps, why haven't we seized that opportunity of the scorching sun?
Well, let me say Kenya is really a leader in adopting renewable energy sources and should be acknowledged for that, progress. And there is no doubt that the African continent can be energy independent using renewable sources. So back to these two themes, it comes down to really making sure that national governments are working across ministries, that they're looking at their integrated energy planning and making sure that renewable sources are part of that planning process, and then working to really attract investment into the sector to help not only companies that deliver the products and services, but to reach marginalized communities, hard to reach communities that can really benefit from more access to electricity.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the desired outcomes? We have the global off-grid
solar forum.
And perhaps for the interest of our viewers, it's good to differentiate what is on-grid and off-grid solars.
So the objective of the forum is that we are bringing together what we'd say the distributed renewable energy sector more broadly. So that includes mini grids that are often used to power businesses. Maybe you see them at clinics or at schools. And then off-grid products that are really standalone products that would power solar pumps. They power mills, but most importantly, they provide light in homes, basic service to access technology and charge your phone. And then we're also partnering with e-mobility and the African E-Mobility Association to look at progress there, as well as the Nairobi Climate Network and the Global Platform for Action that looks at energy access in the humanitarian space.
Mm-hmm. And how will GOGLA speed up the adoption of off-grid solar in the sub-Saharan Africa? And mostly what we see, we mostly rely on hydroelectric power and, of course, the wind.
So GOGLA really serves as the hub or the voice of the off-grid sector. Mm-hmm. So we are member-driven. So we influence the change by providing really important data and market insights and really advocating for our 200 plus members who are the ones that both invest in and sell the products and services. So for these companies to really move forward the adoption of off-grid, they need to have financial and business sustainability. And they are challenged to be commercially successful on one hand and to serve the world's poorest communities on the other hand. So they kind of have to do two things at once. And these are businesses, and businesses need supportive policies and they need investment. So really, in order to achieve energy access, we need a very strong, financially sustainable off-grid companies to deliver.
And I'm looking at this project, 685 million homes by the year 2030. We are looking about 6 years or so. This project demands about 21 billion.
Yes.
We have about 1.2 billion. How will Gogla help us achieve this? Because 1.2 billion and 21 billion, we can see it's a big, big, big amount of money. It's
a big amount of money. It's really about 6 times the amount that is currently invested into the industry. And of this amount, over 40% really needs to come from the public sector. So Gogla's job is to advocate and to push for investment, and also to look for financial tools, things that decrease risk, things that help lower the cost of capital. We talk about things like how do companies get more access to financing in local currency, which would really help pass on savings to the consumer. We look at supportive VAT and tariff policies as a way to lower the price to consumers, and then ways for consumers to pay for products or be subsidized or get grants for products that help companies to sell more products, reach more people.
And I'm looking at Kenya in the region. We are quite the pace setters, if you ask me, in terms of also energy. We've seen the grid that we have in Garissa. We also are looking into wind. And how can Kenya achieve 76% of electrification and be a model to other countries in the region, and especially East and Central Africa?
Well, let's not forget geothermal.
Yes,
and that's a very, very important source here in Kenya. And I do think Kenya is really setting the bar, and one of the reasons is that there is a vision for and a plan for a clean energy future, and so there are commitments by the government and also by the private sector to work together, because that's got to really go hand in hand to make this work. And back to your original point, Kenya is blessed with these resources, and I think is doing a good job in recognizing and using the power of the sun, the power of the wind, the power of the earth through geothermal to power the country.
What is the impact of subsidies and public funding in affordability of this off-grid? And how can we rope in? Because at the end of the day, we also need the private sector, just as you've mentioned.
They're critical. They're absolutely critical. In order to achieve energy access, we have to have grants and subsidies. And so if you consider who we're serving out in a community that has little or no ability to pay for a product, how can a company sell a product if it doesn't have some way to pay for that product? So subsidies are important. Grants are very important, and I think what is critical is that getting people even very simple, basic access to electricity really gives them the opportunity for financial inclusion and the dignity that comes with energy access. So grants and subsidies are an essential part of the mix to achieve energy access.
And what are some of the opportunities? Because I'm quite sure the young and also the companies and the private sector are looking at these opportunities. What are some of the opportunities that they can also be able to seize in this project? And what are some of the challenges of scaling? We're talking about solar energy. It's a big project.
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked about the youth, because we are building a green, clean energy future together. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the renewable space and the off-grid space offers not only real employment opportunities, but will set the stage for a much cleaner future. Will get us off dependencies on diesel and diesel gensets to power our homes. Mm-hmm. And so I think it really is important that the youth come behind renewable energies in a real way and look at it as a profession and an opportunity, because it is the way of the future.
What do we expect starting tomorrow? Because it's a 3-day workshop.
It actually kicked off today with, well, we had a meeting with government officials from 23 countries today and 4 regional bodies, but tomorrow we kick off the forum. And there are going to be 100 exhibitors out in the tents that...
Where exactly we would that
we're at the KICC, at the Kenyatta International Conference Center. Mm-hmm. And so there is an expo with exhibitors, and then inside the conference center, we have over 60 sessions going on throughout the day, well over 200 speakers, and we expect 1,500 people to come in, and the conversation is going to be very diverse. It's going to cover off-grid, but it's also going to look at applications in agriculture and in health, humanitarian settings, and e-mobility.
Who are you targeting in this seminar?
So we are really interested in connecting companies with investors. That is a huge priority. So we have a lot of networking events that some are open door and some are deal rooms where companies, including an opportunity, we have 70 African small companies that are pitching to investors. So we want to be a catalyst to drive investment into these locally owned companies. And then we really want to get out the word that it's time to push on energy access, and off-grid is a critical energy source to achieve that goal.
All right, as we wrap up, kindly tell us something about the future of solar energy from what you've been able to see, and basing that we have given ourselves a target of 2030. Where do you see us in the year 2030, and especially in the sub-Saharan Africa?
I think we're going to have to ask what comes after 2030. If everything aligns and we get the investment, we could hit our goals. We know how to get there. But I think we need to make sure that we're ready after 2030, particularly to reach the communities that are hard to reach, to bring people into economic opportunity. And solar and working with off-grid solar is market ready, it's ready to deploy, it's a least cost solution. So we really need to push to get it out there.
Thank you so much, Sarah Malm, who is the Executive Director of GOGLA. And we're talking about solar adoption, solar energy adoption, and beginning. She said we've already started today.
Well, it kicks off tomorrow.
Officially.
It officially kicks off tomorrow, yes.
So starting tomorrow, they will be having right here in Nairobi the Global Off-Grid Solar Forum and Expo 2024. A lot that you can get from this forum, and especially if you're in renewable energy, not to mention East and Central Africa. We're in the Sub-Saharan Africa, and solar is one of the energy sources that we should be clamoring for. And thank you so much
Thank you very much.
Making time and for your insight.
It's great to be in Kenya. Thank you.
So much. All right, moving on, the government has been urged to create a more conducive business environment to help small and medium-sized enterprises scale. Industry players say capacity building initiatives are essential to equip these enterprises with financial knowledge and effective business management practices. This comes ahead of the Big Bonanza Conference, an annual SME convention aimed at advocating the sustainable solutions to uplift the welfare of the SME.